Hey guys, this is Jason from GameRave.com, otherwise known as Danger Boy. This is GameRaveTV. So we missed last week with an episode just because there was absolutely no time. And this week, with all the packing and excavating, and I truly do mean excavating. Oh my god, I have way too many systems. I wanted to make it up to you guys and actually give a nice, crazy, powerful episode and, what have you. And with all the, excavating and packing going on, it just wasn't going to be possible to do a game-centric one. So I figured we'd do another editorial episode. And of all the things that I've been kind of chomping at the bit, I really just need to vent for a little bit about the entire used game argument. Now, had I done this video, say, I don't know, a month and a half ago after the E3 debacle with Microsoft, it probably would have been more topical and, what have you. But it was probably the best that this video took so long just because of all the things that have been happening. And rather than say I was part of the solution, i.e. them backpedaling on the DRM stuff, and they're still backpedaling on things with the indie stuff, so I guess they watched my video. I instead would like to be an observer, and everyone has their bitching and complaining and blah blah blah. As a person who's been on both sides of the industry, three actually, you figure, I've been on the retail side, I've been on the industry side when I worked for Game Shark and Interact, I've been on the fanzine side, GameRave itself. This whole used game argument is not going to go away anytime soon. There really is no solution, but I felt that rather than yell and scream and throw spitballs across the planet at each other, I would just like to give my personal experiences, I guess I'd say, and examples that would illustrate why used games need to stay. The most important, and I mean very important, like asterisk, underlined, period, is that when it comes to used games, this is not a fight of the game publishers or developers versus a retail opponent. This is not about, say, EA versus GameStop, or say, BioWare versus Target. Target, GameStop, Best Buy, mom and pop stores, you name it, they are literally nothing but middlemen. And by middlemen, I mean they are providing a service of buying back your product and selling new and used product. And they are not what this fight is about. They are basically a false flag. And by false flag, I mean they are a false target at which your anger should be directed at, when in reality, the real target is hidden, and that real target is us, the gamers. In order for GameStop to have a used game, you, me, the gamers, would have to bring them to them to have this stock. They're not just magically made and dispersed and so forth. It comes from the gamer. And what Microsoft, found out the hard way with their DRM issues was that you can tell a race of gamers and a society of gamers that, it's their fault, these stores' fault. But when it comes down to it, when you finally, ever so not publicly reveal that, by the way, if you lend your friend a game, he's gonna have to pay full retail price and blah 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 and all this other crap that was with that bullshit DRM, they will wake up and realize this isn't about a store, it's about the gamers. And with Microsoft backpedaling on everything that they've even remotely said was going to be with the system, including all the indie stuff, that was awesome. I guess they watched my video. Like I said, it's not about, and I'm going full flow of consciousness right now, so bear with me, there's gonna be tangents everywhere. It's not about the stores. No one gives a shit about them. It's about you and me. And as the publishers and developers have done everything they can to try and corner us and avoid that used game sale with online passes, which were dropped. Gee, I wonder why. And the DRM issues, which were dropped. I wonder why. Here's the funny thing. With PC gamers, granted, they have Steam, and that's fine. But with all these PC games that have these crazy DRM and serial numbers, and they're still pirated anyway, because some people just don't want to pay for them, why bother with all that DRM crap? Like, it's just ridiculous. There was a couple years ago when even Penny Arcade was talking about how they basically had to pirate their actual game they really bought just to get it to run. Hysterical. But anyway, I go back to the topic. The problem with the other problems that they've been facing with Trend Solutions, besides the online pass and the DRM stuff, is that they're fragmenting games and they are making them disposable. Now, I brought this up to a small sentence or two in one of my earlier videos, and what I mean by that is this. From the fragmentation point, when I was growing up and I bought a Super Nintendo game or a PlayStation 1 game or a Dreamcast game or an Atari game, when I bought that game, I bought that game. New or used, it was the whole fucking game on that disc or that cartridge or that chip. And it didn't matter if it was 4 years later or 5 years later or 2 weeks later, I still had that game in my hand on my shelf and it worked. Nowadays, whether it be pre-order enticement DLC, exclusive DLC, there's no such thing as a complete game anymore. Like Assassin's Creed 3. Now, I'm going to go against myself for the sake of this argument in this video, because if you watch my other ones, you'll be like, oh. With Assassin's Creed 3, PlayStation got 4 exclusive missions. While that's awesome and very good for them, and I rooted for it in my other video, it's also hurting because down the road, when all is said and done, there's no longer a complete game. It would be like going to like a bookstore and buying a book for the $50 and then going down the street to that bookstore and seeing the same book for $50, but it's got 4 extra chapters in it. You would feel gypped. Now, well, that's fine and dandy. When you get to the actual DLC stuff, like extra levels for multiplayer, or like extra missions for single player, or even like extra weapon skins that weren't actually in the game and so forth, when it first got out, when the years pass on and those servers are shut down and that DLC is removed, what becomes of the game itself? Like, you literally have an 85% complete game. Like, best example, Mass Effect. Like, I'm a Mass Effect whore. Plain and simple, no shame. They announced that Mass Effect 1 for PS3 isn't going to have the 2 DLC because with the one of them, their code was either lost or corrupted. Don't you guys back this shit up? Like, what, like, within the same cycle, within the same generation, they're already losing game content. Like, that's insane. More on that later. 2, on the disposable side, if the EA, speaking of Mass Effect, the beauty of a physical game is that it sits there. Like NBA 2-ball, which just happens to be right here because I was working on it. If I found this, for 4 years of tracking it down, finally had the money to buy it, bought it, boom, cool, I have that physical copy. Good to go. Let's say, by chance, that was a digital-only game. And I didn't have the money to buy that digital game. I had to start saving up for it. With Mass Effect, they had this really cool game. Well, I'm gonna say cool. It was mediocre, but it was fun. For the iPod, based on Mass Effect 2's Jacob character, and then for Mass Effect 3, they had this really, really cool app called the Datapad app, and it basically turned your iPad into the actual pad from the game. And as you played it, you would actually get emails from the characters from the game into the iPad, and the emails would change based on your Renegade Paragon choices, like your dating aspects, etc. And it was freaking amazing. But EA took both of them offline. They took the first one down because I guess it wasn't selling real well. And then with the Datapad app, it was free, but I guess because they might be maybe shutting down the servers in a little bit, who knows, you can't get that anymore. And just back to the fragmentation aspect of it, you're losing a part of the game. Was it a necessary part? No, but it was flippin' cool. Why not have it as a download so you could somehow stream it to your iPad from the Xbox or the PS3 or the USB cable or something? The fact that they can just dispose of that content like that for no reason is ridiculous. This goes even further with like licensed games with copyright problems. All of the Midway stuff on Xbox Live, the Ninja Turtles Reshelled game, and some PlayStation 1 games on the PSN literally just disappeared without a trace. And most of this can be stemmed back from copyright issues or like, timed copyright issues, etc. Like I said before, if you had never had that game in the first place, or let's say with like the shelled game, it only exists as a digital download, same with the Datapad app. If you're coming into the game late, say a year and a half after the game came out, and you're just now buying Mass Effect 3, and you've heard some random fanboy talking about this really cool Datapad app, and you go and buy it to support that game you just bought, and it's not there, that's a lessened experience, and it's growing. This fragmented, disposable bullshit is continuing, and it's driving me nuts. Like, I am afraid for what they have planned with the PS4 and the Xbox One. Like, it's like you can't. It's like you have to buy everything day one from them, or like you might lose the chance to have it ever again. Ha ha ha! Told you, blah blah. Just so bad. As I said before, like GameRave would not be possible without used games. And going back to the original discussion about how it's about us, not the stores, if there are people that want Microsoft to bring back the original Xbox One with the DRM settings and everything 100%, and you guys are fucking nuts. There is no comment about this. What you're saying is I don't care about ownership rights and laws. You can just take my money and do it whether you want my software and turn it off at will or lock me out of it, yada yada yada. Have fun. No. 2, I don't know if this was ever public information, but rumors going here and there. When the DRM was still active on the Xbox One, originally you could have still been able to sell it to a retailer, GameStop, Target, etc., but the retailer themselves would have had to have been an authorized reseller. And what that means is that, let's say, GameStore would have had to go into Microsoft and basically become a licensed reseller, so that when you trade in your Xbox One disc, they would scan the barcode on the disc, it would go to Microsoft would then go to your system over Xbox Live and that required online thing and deactivate your game. It would still be on your hard drive, you just couldn't play it. And then when GameStore sold that copy of the used game for however much, they would have to pay a percentage to the publisher. Now, the problem is that this wasn't a universal setup, meaning like GameStore would have had to have accounts with Capcom, Konami, Microsoft, Koei, etc. Imagine going into a game store and being told they could only buy back some of your games and not all of your games because these companies don't support you supporting them. That goes back to the gamer side. That's what it's about. Like, if before they backpedaled, you would not have been able to sell your game. Like, you couldn't go to Craigslist. You couldn't sell it to your buddy. You couldn't sell it on eBay. It's no longer your product. You're just basically a licensing fool, parting with your money. Now, speaking of parting with money, and I'll end the video with this. To try and understand the positive side of a used game, to losing that new sale because friend A lent their game to friend B. As stated before, I am a Mass Effect whore. And the reason I'm a Mass Effect whore is because my friend Rob basically pestered me for a year and a half to play Mass Effect 1. I don't remember why I wasn't that into it. Maybe because it wasn't maybe because it wasn't, I don't know. I don't remember I was playing at that time. I wasn't willing to give it a chance. And a used copy I spotted in a store of the Greatest Hits edition of Mass Effect 1 that had the extra DLC map for free. I'm like, oh, that's cool, $5. I'm like, you know what? Said game store had a neat policy where if I didn't like the game, I could bring it back. Take note, game companies. So I was like, you know what? If I don't like it, I'll bring it back, get my money back. Otherwise, let's check it out. I took Mass Effect 1 home, that used copy, that EA didn't see their, $4 profit from it maybe, and I fell in love with it. And after I beat it, literally the second the end credits finished and I was back at the title screen, I bought the soundtrack on iTunes, downloaded the soundtrack to my DSi, got in my car, drove to Game Store, pre-ordered the collector's edition of Mass Effect 2 and the collector's guide, and then upon paying full price for my brand new day one Mass Effect game and guide, then bought every piece of DLC for it that came out, all the expansion, all the missions, all the weapons, all the costumes, etc. Loved the game to death. Waited for Mass Effect 3. Bought Mass Effect 3 Collector's Edition. Bought all the iOS games, whether they were free or paid. Bought them all. Bought all $50 worth of DLC for Mass Effect 3, and then downloaded all the multiplayer stuff, which was free. And then, after beating the game about a jillion times on my Xbox, I went and paid $350 for a brand new Wii U, bought my brand new Mass Effect 3 for Wii U, played through that, and the fact that we didn't get any DLC is insane. Also, went back to the PlayStation 3, bought Mass Effect 2 for the PlayStation 3, bought all the DLC for the PlayStation 3, bought Mass Effect 3 brand new, bought all the DLC for Mass Effect 3 from the PS3. Because I loved the game, because I was able to take a chance on the first one with a technically used or borrowed game. The $4, give or take, because it was the Greatest Hits game at the time, that EA lost on that loaned game, or that used purchased game, ended up becoming, and I did the math, over $500 in profit to them for all the copies of 2 and 3 and the DLC I bought. For fuck's sake, I spent $150 on imaginary weapons in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. And because it's EA and they're going to shut the server off, say within 6 months to a year, I will never see those items again. Because A, I love the game, B, I'm an idiot in the same transaction. Which brings us back to the fragmentation. I'm never going to see that crap again. Did I enjoy it? Yes, but I could always have that physical copy of the game. I'm never going to see $150 worth of content I bought because it's not part of my game anymore. And if this trend continues, I will probably never buy another upcoming and new game again, Liar, Mass Effect, and just stick with my old stuff. Because if the games I love and adore only come in pieces from now on, why bother buying them new? I'll just wait till they're cheap and get a cheaper assembled full copy. Something to think about, guys. Just remember, it's not about the stores. It's about you. We'll see you guys next week, hopefully.